All right, we got right here on set Sandra Smith, co-anchor of America Reports. And if that weren't enough, Charlie Hurt, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. God bless him. He doesn't sleep much. You look fine, Charlie. Good thing.
Hi, Charlie.
I couldn't do it. Charlie, you know, think about Elon Musk and all this spat, which Trump, I think, handled very well, and Elon did not, as the stock went crashing down, and Trump's popularity is high. I think, you know, sometimes even though he came in and he volunteered and he did a very good job, at least for a couple months, pinpointing waste, fraud, and abuse, I think he got a little intoxicated in the White House and decided that it wasn't only to cut spending. He was National Security Advisor and Defense Secretary and maybe Treasury Secretary. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to run the IRS and then put my guy in at NASA. I think it was a little intoxicating, and I think that got him into a little bit of trouble. This is an offbeat interpretation because I don't want to repeat what everyone else has said, but I'm just tossing that out to you. Intoxication.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great theory, and I think that there's probably a huge amount of truth to it. The other thing is, look, the big headline for us all the past 6 months has been, this is Trump's second rodeo. This is his second time in Washington. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows what you have to, he knows who you can trust and who you can't trust. And that's why he is so much more effective this time than he was last time. And it's like when you have the big, beautiful bill, yeah, we could sit here and pin the tail on the donkey and find all these things that are terrible in the bill. Well, that's true of every single big piece of legislation that comes out. The point is that Donald Trump recognizes there's some very, very good, very, very important, perhaps, you know, nation-saving things in the bill, and he's defending it. And Elon Musk, who is never, you know, he's a super executive. He does everything kind of off the top of his head. He has no concept about how these things come together. And yet, sometimes you kind of have to swallow some stuff that you don't love, but that's the way the legislation comes out. And so he looks at this and he wants to start crying and grab all of his marbles and go home, and it's not going to work. Trump is focused on, no, I have to get this. I have to accomplish this because really bad things happen if I don't.
And he will. He's well on his way. And as I told you earlier, Sandra, I want to see rapprochement, all right, sooner or later, and I believe that will happen. I want to see Elon, by the way, go back and run his fabulous businesses, Neuralink, Starlink, even Tesla. I'm not a big EV guy, but Tesla also.
You look good in a Tesla, Larry.
I probably would. I want
a red one.
I want those. Oh, is there one for sale any place?
Exactly.
We can
get a good deal on one.
We can have a bidding war. I mean, and they will. But, you know, you can't start throwing personal insults at the president of the United States, especially when you've just been backing him financially and in presence.
He says
you
Trump
can't
went
do that.
Personal first. I'm not taking any sides there, but that's what Musk said in the exchange yesterday. I think there's a lot of people who are going, they feared this could happen, and they feared that Musk could turn. I don't know that that's fully happened yet, where they're past the point of reconciliation. You predicted earlier they will fix this.
Great thing about Donald Trump, I've seen this time and again, he can get angry at you. I've seen it, and cut people off. But a while later, he forgives, and the friendship resumes. It's a wonderful thing about him, and I saw it many times when I worked for him in the White House. And I think something similar will happen. And look,
but we're not talking about growth. We're not talking about tax cuts.
So where's
We're talking about the spat.
Where's he going to go?
You know?
Into the arms of the Democrats that called him a Nazi for the last 6 months and who don't want to cut one nickel from the federal budget?
So if he was to start over, rewind 24 hours, would you want this public spat to happen? Or do you think there was a better way I think people are asking them, was there a way around this? You're still optimistic that the bill's going to get passed?
Oh, for sure.
And I think a lot of Republicans are. I had Tim Scott on my show today, and the senator is very confident that they're going to mend the relationship and the big, beautiful bill will get passed.
Even
if they don't, a lot of the Republicans I talk to.
Even if they don't mend it, it's going to get passed. Elon's not a political player. I mean, I know he's put a lot of money in the campaign, but I mean, he tried to elect a conservative judge in Wisconsin and got slaughtered and spent a lot of money doing it. I don't see him as a political player. I see him as a guy who wants to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and he should have stayed in his own little box and stayed there. But he got intoxicated and tried to be kind of running the government, and you can't do that.
And sadly, none of this is going to happen by sort of executive fiat. You have to sort of go through the legislative process.
Yes.
And that is the problem. And he will forever have done a great service to Washington and all
100%.
of us by exposing a lot of this stuff.
And he's a genius.
But I also do believe that and yes, it is a distraction, a terrific distraction. And I mean, I find it somewhat entertaining. I know that I probably am not supposed to, but I do.
No, we needed something in early June.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a Donald Trump move here somewhere where Elon's going to show back up at the White House and he's going to drive up
100%.
the Cybertruck. I don't know.
As soon as their interests align again, that is
Have
going
you
to
seen
happen.
the Cybertruck?
100 of them.
It's the scariest looking thing I've ever seen. And the only thing it lacks is, turrets and weapons on the top of it. I mean, they pull up beside you. It's just, oh my God.
Looks like a space vehicle.
What just happened here? Huh?
I would buy one if it had a cannon on the top.
Well, we could
I could
probably
see you
arrange
behind
that.
the
That would
wheel. Yeah.
Technology. Anyway, it's all
Solve
about
all your traffic problems.
It's all about one big beautiful bill. Sandra Smith and Charlie Hurt. You can catch Sandra on America Reports, along with her co-anchor John Roberts, weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, right on Fox News, and Charlie on Fox and Friends, weekends 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. What a brave soul. That is weekends on Fox News. You're both terrific. Thank you ever so much. All right.